Okay, there's just a standard Mikuni diaphragm fuel pump. For your chainsaw guys, you'll see it just looks like a giant version of the diaphragm set up on a chainsaw carburetor. It's the same thing. There's an impulse line that goes in from the bottom, from the base of your engine. So if your bottom end of there, that's your impulse line, and it's just a diaphragm pump. And this one's a triple, so it's got 3 outlet hoses. And then that's your inlet for your gas, and that's about it. I guess that's your gas inlet. That's your impulse, and then there's your 3 lines that go to your carb. So this machine, it would run. You had to dump gas down the cylinders a couple times and keep pulling it. And once it picked up its prime and ran, it would run no problem. But then I let it set for a few days, came back out, and it wouldn't go again. It seems like it's slack on fuel on the on that center cylinder. So I'm going to pull this pump apart and have a look inside. We did see, there's our impulse side. See, it's a clear plasticky diaphragm, and that's your impulse there. So that just pumps back and forth, and then there's the impulse diaphragm side, and there's just little diaphragms basically like check valves. One goes one way, one goes the other. And then on this side, whoop, around here. Oh yeah, there's your impulse side there. So that just impulses and it sucks fuel down through. It sucks fuel in one side, pushes it out the other side. So that just pulsates back and forth, sucks fuel in one side, out the other side. They're just little check valves, see, little round diaphragm things. Ooh. See, there's one on that side, one on that side, and that just pumps back and forth, and there's a wall on this side, so it goes in one side, out the other side, and then there's your 3 fuel lines, 1, 2, 3. So it just fills this whole area with fuel, and then it just squirts out the lines. Everything's all clean and good. So I don't know, I guess the fuel pump issue is all in my head. It does squirt less fuel out that one, but I tried cleaning it and everything looks fine. So I'm just gonna blow the lines out and do what I can and put the fuel pump back together, and I guess just eliminate that as an issue. Okay, well, whatever went on, that center fuel line's staying full of fuel now, and it's running like a dream, so either there was something in there somewhere, I don't know. I went through and all the hoses, had them all kind of wanky, and some had clamps, some didn't, so I got those little gear clamps, I put clamps in all the hoses and everything. So, like, I don't know what more you can ask for. I'm not sure. It's got a pretty heavy spring in the clutch. I don't got the cab on it, so I don't see the tach, but it seems to have a pretty high engagement. So I'm gonna whip the pipes, I'm sure there's some clutch stuff done. So this thing's probably gonna just rip. It's got a pretty big lug track on it. This thing's probably gonna rip wheelies. It's gonna be wild. So I'm gonna call it good for the motor for now. I ended up ordering 2 new pistons just because when I took it apart, had a fairly lightweight piston in the center, which is fine, but it was burnt. So the piston I replaced it with a pretty heavy piston. So now I don't know. So now I got 2 different weight pistons in there, and they'll be okay just to drive it a bit. But I think over time, right, just at off balance in your crank can't be good. And I don't really know what the other 2 pistons look like. They got good compression, so screw it. I already got the gasket kit. I ordered 2 new pistons, so sometime next week they'll come in, and I'm just going to put 2 new pistons in. I'll have 3 new pistons, and I'll just start fresh. So right now I'm going to jack up the back of this thing, and I'm going to pull up the suspension skid and see what I need for bearings underneath there. Probably pull the cover up the chain case, and just because they get full of filings and stuff, so I'm going to change the oil and clean up the chain case. I have a belt ordered, 2 new pistons ordered. I'll just get a list together of everything else I need. So I gotta take off this bolt and this bolt on both sides to drop this whole skid. There's 1 bearing on the other side and this wheel on the other side. It's going to be changed, so that one's pretty loose too. So I'm going to go through it all, remove all the bearings that need to be replaced. These sliders, these high-back sliders here, these are wore almost right out. So I'm going to slide with some bearings, so I'm just going to pull it apart. Well, here you go. Here's what the rear skid looks like. Out of the machine. So, a bunch, or I think probably most of, or all of these bearings need to be replaced, and these slides need to be replaced. These are such a pain in the butt. There's these shafts here. Oh, that one. Yeah. These shafts here, they're threaded on both ends, so they bolt in. So if you loosen one side, then the other side wants to spin, and there's no way to get vice grips into it. So I just jacked it up until it cranked sideways enough and kind of slid out that it created enough of an opening on this side to get a vice grip on here. I got it taken out. So these are a pain to put back in too. Some of the newer machines are not too bad to work on, but these old things, trying to get the skids back in, goodness. So anyway, this machine, see, I bought it from some kid that he couldn't get it running, and you screwed with it. So we screwed the things that didn't need to be screwed with, and it's an old machine, and I don't know how many hands it spins through, but there's lots of weird crap, missing bolts and things not the way they should be. So I can't take anything for granted in this machine. I basically got to take it all apart and go through it, inspect everything, look at everything, and put it back together just so I know, because there's some weird stuff going on with this thing. There's a lot of years of neglect, and amateur mechanics have seen this thing, so we'll get her back in shape. It's just going to take a lot of patience. So I took the part number off that track, and that's a Camoplast Challenger 2-inch. It has a 2-inch, it's a powder, a mountain sled track, and it's a full 136. It's a 136 by 2-inch track. It's like an over $800 track, brand new. So this friggin' snowmobile, man, like, I don't know what kind of hacks have been working on this thing over the years, but it's got a rail extension kit. It's got, I think it says Maverick. And see, these are extra plates that bolt on. So normally, this tightener would use these bolts here. So with the extra kit, it bolts these extra plates on, and then you move the tightener back. I don't know, you must have had to cut the back off your rails initially, or I'm not sure. But you see here, how they make your rails wider. So what they did was, they put her all together, and they bolted her together, and they put that spacer on, and when they put this together, that wheel wasn't even on. The wheel was out like this. It was out like that, and that's how they were running it. The bolt was essentially, like, yeah, it was off the bolt, and it was right off the end of the shaft. That's how they were running it. So I'm going to have to kind of measure some stuff and figure some stuff out. I'm guessing that when you put this kit on, you got that much extra width. So I'm guessing that you got to shave that thickness off of these bushings. You gotta shave that thickness off of these bushings, I would imagine. So then when you put this back together, everything says the stock width, so you're not out this much wider. But I don't think the person who put this together did that. And like the tighteners were all like, one was like that, and one was like that. Like everything's just whack on this sled. It's frustrating as heck. So this machine has well, if you look at this, it's instructions on your suspension setup and how to set it for deep snow or how to set it for trail conditions. And then for trail handling, you bolt your suspension to this setting. And for deep snow, you can lift your sled up higher and bolt it to here. So this was on that setting. And then you have, sorry for getting seasick here, but here's your transfer, your blocks. So this is the loosest setting. And that sets your weight transfer when you hit the gas, how much your weight transfers back. So they're set in the loosest setting. And they got all these limiter straps. They got the limiter straps loosened right completely off. Look at the front limiters. They got the bolts. Everything's as loose as they can get. So this machine right now is set up just for ripping huge wheelies. It's just not set up for any practical reason. It's just set up so when you hit the gas, it rips big wheelies. So I'm gonna leave it like that for now. But she's quite the machine. I'm not sure. You think if this came with the kit, it would come with everything you needed. But maybe they got these rail extensions because these have like I read somewhere they're like a one something. They're an odd size track. So if I put these extensions on, so you can put them to a full 136. But I'm thinking one scenario. Maybe these are on backwards. Maybe you can put that one on this side and that one on that side. Like put these plates on the inside side of the rail, so the outside is the same width as the stock width. Maybe. Because now if you cut these down, your wheels are going to be running right super close to your tighteners. Maybe we could flip-flop those and have to trim down these inner bushings maybe. I don't know. So I'm going to do some research on that. Figure out how they're supposed to go together. So for now I'm going to pull off these slides. Get a piece of those. There's a few bearings that need some attention. I'm not going to get too fussy. I'll take it apart. Some of these, what they do is they got the bearing, and they'll just use all the same size bearing, but some of the smaller shafts will just be like a plastic, some kind of plastic bushing inside the bearing. So you can think the bearing's loose, but you take it apart, it's just a plastic bushing. So I guess technically you should change it, but I don't really worry about it too much. As long as the bearings happen to blow apart, I run it. Okay, some of these bearings are so-so, some of them are slacker than others. They're all a bit rough. Like, I'm sure a lot of them would grow for a while longer, but it would suck to friggin' have a wheel blow off and have to pull it. It's a pain in the butt to get that skid back in. I know that. So pull up one wheel from each area just to verify that they're all the same bearing number, and they are. So some of these, like I said before, they'll have a plastic bushing inside, but it's the same bearing. So I'm going to get all new bearings and new slides. We'll put it all back together and grease it, put the skid back in, and the skid's going to be done. I'm not going to have to worry about it. You know, like, the weather's been beautiful lately. There's lots of snow. The trail reports are great. I'm just really wanting to go for a drive. So I keep having ideas, like, oh, I'm just going to go buy a newer snowmobile and just drive it. But I keep reminding myself, like, no man, screw it. I got this, I'm going to stick with it. And I don't want to rush it and just slap it together. So I'm not going to go as far with it as I was going to. I was going to get it all cosmetically and mechanically ready to go. But now I'm going to get it mechanically good. And the cosmetics are still going to be willy-nilly on it. And we're going to get it together and just get some running on it, and I'll slowly fix the rest of it up after. If the motor seems like it's going to want to hold together for me, I'm going to start doing some more updates and stuff to it maybe later this year or probably next year to kind of make it a little more modern. But we're not going to get ahead of ourselves because you never know what that motor could be a lemon. You don't know these things until you start running them. They couldn't race it, they couldn't have the timing advance. Like, there's a number of scenarios, right? You don't know. It's an old machine, a lot of hands working on it. But, so yeah, just gotta pull these slides off. I'm gonna enter here for now and get some parts this week, hopefully. Get a chance to get some parts, and we'll be on the snow hopefully sooner than later. For the record, if I would have known that this bearing was just not installed properly, because I thought this bearing was blowing out, that's why I took it apart in the first place. But if I would have known it was just installed improperly instead of being blown out, I probably wouldn't have pulled the skid out until, you know, all the wheels go off, and then I would have done it. But now it's out. Now I'm committed to do it, but it's okay. It'll be better in the end.